This one is probably going to be one of the most personal, cheesy lectures you guys get out of this class, which I know is saying a lot. So, this is our skills number two. I'm going over the second set of skills, which is a very small set. So, I'm going to review the ones we've talked about and then talk about new ones and applying those, and then kind of go over the assignments that they relate to. So, just as a reminder, these are all of the skills. There are 12, hence the name of the book, 12 Universal Skills. Okay, you guys should definitely have read at least a chunk of it by now. Um, for Module 2, setting goals and professional behaviors was a couple of probably the more used skills out of what you guys have done so far. And setting goals is obviously one of the more important ones for sure. And then professional behaviors is kind of what the whole class is about. So um, and then we talked a little bit about building confidence in communication. You'll use communication quite a bit in Module 4 when you start doing some group work. I talked probably the most about building confidence in the previous one. So 4 skills so far, and we're going to add 2 more. And I want to have you guys spend more time on these 2 than you did on the previous 4 combined. So even though building confidence and communication skills and gaining professional attitudes and all that kind of stuff is really important and part of the class, you can't do them without these 2. And these 2 can help you with your next interview assignment for sure. But they're ones that if you can kind of incorporate practicing them from here out, they're just huge life changers, especially, I think, especially skill number 1. You need to continually build and improve your self awareness. And it talks about finding and focusing on your natural strengths, knowing your biases and what are called iceberg beliefs. That's probably the part that I'll focus on the most. And then getting feedback, and that is your reason for continuing to improve. Okay, is feedback from others. Time management, it's going to kill you if you don't have it. This plain and simple. There's no substitute for your time. You cannot stretch it or get back the time that you have already spent. Or I would put it in other words, the time that is already gone, whether you spent it or you let it slip away. You need to clarify the expectations before you begin a new task, the expectations of you and of the task itself. You need to focus on what's most important and remember that urgency is not necessarily the same thing as importance. And then take responsibility for how much you work. And again, I'll probably talk about that one quite a bit. So building self-awareness, that skill or chapter, remember those mean the same thing in these instances. It breaks that chapter up into the sections of natural strengths, biases, iceberg beliefs, feedback, how to receive that feedback, and asking for feedback. So this chapter feels very much like a good, solid therapy session, like a really good one, not a cheesy, crappy one, but a good one that makes you dive into your thoughts and into your own identity. So, natural strength. Some people are really good at leading, they just do it naturally. Some people are really good at following, and not in a bad way, but in more of a get things done kind of way. Some people are good with people. Some people are good at technical aspects of the job. Some people are really good with their hands. Some people are naturally good at time management, and the rest of us don't like you. Time management is so hard for most people. When I was teaching high school, it took me a while to realize that I was natural at writing and that I had to really stop and think about the steps I was taking inside my head, because in my head I took those steps automatically and I had no idea that that's what I was doing. And I had to build this self-awareness that, oh yeah, actually, this is what I'm doing. These are the steps that I'm taking. So then I could teach others those steps. Okay. We need to recognize biases, which is a really hard thing right now in the political climate that we're in, and everything that's going on in the world around us. And when you go to any career, sometimes one of the first things HR has you do is take what are called implicit biases tests. And kind of like, and I refer to the hazardous attitudes a lot in this class for pilots. And their biases are very similar. How we deal with hazardous attitudes every day of our lives, just to one degree or another, biases are the same way. Everybody is sexist. Everybody is racist. Everybody is ist of some kind. Okay? They are implicit. They are not on purpose. But our job is to build self-awareness so that we can recognize when we're doing those things. Okay? I'm going to totally blow your guys' minds and make some of you really, really mad. We treat teachers, as teachers, we treat males and females completely differently. Females can't get away with anything in schools. Nothing. Males, they can get away with absolutely everything. And all of it is subconscious and implicit. Okay, none of it is done on purpose. The females don't try to get away with more or less. The males don't try to get away with more or less. The teachers don't try to let the males or females get away with more or less, whatever. Okay, and your parents are probably exactly the same. And when I realized that as a teacher, I treated males and females differently, I ended up really changing my teaching strategies. And I typically ended up with more males in my English classes because of it. And it's still something that I have to constantly remind myself of. It's a little easier to remind myself of it now because I'm one of 2 females in the entire department. Okay. Iceberg beliefs is another really deep therapy type part of this skill or chapter. Okay. Iceberg beliefs digs into what has become a part of your own identity because of the way you were raised. Okay, and it gets into perfectionism, it gets into procrastination, it gets into work ethic and working too hard kind of thing. And so there's 3 main ones that it digs into that are not negative, but if you take them too far, they can be really harmful. And I have all 3 of them to like the umpteenth degree, big time. And it's kind of funny to try to sit and think about how I was raised having an effect on that. My siblings, I have 3 siblings, and none of them are like that. And so it's a combination of genetics and how you're raised. It's just a really, really interesting part of the chapter. But when you start thinking about yourself as a professional in aviation, you have to dig into those big time, and you have to face them and conquer them on a daily basis. So it's, again, one of those parts that I would love to have you guys spend more time on just these 2 skills than you have on the other 4 combined. The feedback section is awesome, and it just goes back to continual learning. I am really lucky in the department that I'm in. I'm constantly getting feedback. So when we talk about time management, that one hits everybody. Okay, we all wish we were better at it. And it just gives you some tips on how to get organized, how to eliminate distractions, and which ones to eliminate. How to say yes to new projects and make your expectations clear. How to prioritize your tasks, which I do backwards, by the way. So for me, I tackle the easiest things first because I feel like it gives me motivation, and then I do the hard things. You should do it the other way around, and I'm still working on that. Okay. Then it does talk about saying no and knowing where those lines are for you. And then it talks about working effectively. So work smarter, not harder. Work smarter, not harder. Okay. And then how much should you work? That was another one that hit home for me because I have ridiculously unrealistic expectations of myself and how much I work. And I'm just fine with it for me personally. But the other people around me have a really hard time with it. And sometimes I have to remind myself that I'm the weird one that works too much. Okay. All of those things, again, go into your professional identity. So one of your assignments that really uses these skills is your service project check-in. And then your interview redo that is in module 4. Those are big. And then just trying to incorporate them from here out. You'll definitely use both of them a ton when we start doing our group work in the next section. But especially with redoing your interview, that self-awareness one's pretty big. And it's going to feel right now like the semester's just speeding up big time. You've got way too much to do. So that time management one, really good timing for that as well.